You know, one of the biggest questions that I get as a RC YouTuber is basically, what's the perfect ESC and motor for me? How do I get the ESC and motor that's gonna do everything? I want to rock crawl, I want to race, I want to trail, I want to go through the mud, you know, I want to tow a trailer and sled pull and all that stuff. And I have a new SCX10. How do I make it do it? How do I make it do everything? I want it to do everything. What's the best motor in ESC for me? That is a question I get all the time, and today we're gonna address that. What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holmes Hobbies Motor Control. It's your boy Josh, aka Coleman, and Twancito over here. My boy Twan. He's my co-host today. He didn't want to be left alone. Actually, I got all his stuff set up behind the camera right here, but he didn't want to be on the other side of the camera for some reason. He wants to sit with his dad and squirm all over. Huh, yeah. So, anyways, today we're going to talk about motor selection in a different light. So, not just motor selection, motor and ESC selection. And moreover, we're going to talk about application, okay? Because that's the most important part of picking your motor in your ESC. So, I'm always asked, constantly, I'm always asked how to get the right motor in ESC for somebody. And, the first thing I always ask them is, well, what do you want to do, you know? And they always want to do everything. I want to be able to do everything. I want it to be fast. I want it to rock crawl. I want to do everything. Well, so here's the thing. You can have a motor in ESC that does pretty much everything, but it's only going to do it like decent to good, right? Or you can purpose build a vehicle and have a motor in ESC that's meant for that purpose, and it can be great at that purpose, right? And not so great at the other things. And that's where you really have to learn how application comes into play here. So for me personally, I'm into the scale crawler world, the scale trail truck, the scale model building type of world here. And, you know, when I say scale, a lot of people automatically think small tire, street trucks, things that are street legal and full bodied and all that stuff, which that's partially true, but that doesn't mean that that's the only thing that scale is applied to. Scale can also be applied to rock bouncers. It can also be applied to wee rock buggies. It can also be applied to monster trucks or mega mud trucks or anything under the sun. I mean, it's basically just, it's scaling. It's just changing the size of something. So basically what we do around here is we build 1/10 scale versions of big vehicles. So everything from rock bouncers to trail trucks to tow pigs to whatever I feel like building, because it's a passion of mine and I enjoy that as a hobby. So that's pretty much why all of you guys do it too, I'm assuming, is you just want to have fun. You're into, whether it's scale stuff or it's racing or it's bashing or whatever side of RC you're into, you're probably into it because it's fun, it's passion, it's something you're into. So for me, when I was back at the hobby shop, this is years ago, I was really good at sales, and I was able to lock in a lot of sales very quickly. And a big part of how I was able to do that was I didn't sell the product to people. And I know that may sound confusing, but I wasn't into selling the product. I was into selling the experience. So when somebody comes in, they're not looking for a product. 9 times out of 10, they don't even know what they want. They're just looking to be excited about something. They want to be entertained. They want to have something fun happen. And they walk in the door and they're thinking, okay, there's going to be something in here that's going to excite me. Well, the thing is, it's not the product that excites them. It's the experience the product brings that excites them. So the more you understand the experience, the more you understand how to apply the use of that product, right? I hope that makes sense. So basically my sales pitch was the same thing that made me fall in head over heels addiction with this hobby. Is I love the experience I can get from it, right? I sold myself on the experience. It's not the product. I mean, look I can't make up my mind. I build all kinds of trucks and I never know which one I'm going to play with because I love the experience. So one day I might want to do nice cruise down the trail. The next day I might want to go crazy and drop the hammer on the side of a hill and do some rock bouncing. Next day I might want to go out and see how fast I can make a trophy truck go through the desert. I never know, right? And most of us don't. We just want to have fun. So basically, Yeah, I know. I'm telling stories. So basically, when it comes to selecting your motor in ESC, the first thing you should know is what kind of experience do you want? What kind of RC do you have? And how can you get the proper application that you're looking for? I hope that makes sense. I'm all over. But so if you have an Axial SCX10 and you want a trail truck, right? Then you need to come to terms with the fact that you're either going to have something that trails and mobs around fairly fast and you know is whatever, you know, like the factory basically box stock setup where they're fairly quick and still spin the tires. That's basically what it boils down to. Is do you still want to be able to do a burnout or a wheelie, or can you give all that up just to have a realistic experience? Oh. Hold on, kiddo. So once you decide what type of experience you want to have, say you have an Axial SCX10 and you want to go out and you want to go to Recon G6s and you want to go to Axial Fest, right? Well, there's a lot of distance covered, so therefore you need to think about something that Rodney Wills of Axial talks about all the time. It's mile per hour, right? Your milliamp hour per hour. So basically, how many miles can you get out of the milliamps you have available in your battery, right? And so that's something you need to take into consideration, and that will also be affected by the kV of your motor or the turn of your motor, right? And that's something that's what we're going to touch on right now. When it comes to kV and turn, all right, those are not the same thing. A lot of people have that misconception that, you know, basically kV is only applied to brushless motors and turns is only applied to brush motors. That is not the case, okay? So a 12.5 turn brushed motor, you know, I'm not going to do the comparison right now because I can't do it in my head. I don't know what it is. I'm not that good. But basically you can have a 12.5 turn brushed or brushless motor, basically, right? You can have, it's a turn is basically like the capacity of the motor, right? It's almost like the, I don't know, I want to say like, it's basically, you know, the turn is the amount of windings, basically. So, and the more windings, the more restriction you're going to have, I believe, right? And so the less windings, the less restriction, the faster the motor can spin. So that right there is kind of the equivalent to a displacement, whereas kV is more or less like a rating of output, right? And that's not what turns are. So that's something you guys should just kind of throw out the window. It's a good way to kind of judge where you want to be, but don't always think that one applies without the other, okay? So having a 3300 kV motor means that you're going to have a very fast, high RPM motor. And in order to basically get the most out of that in runtime, you're going to want to use very little throttle, right? You're not going to want to be high RPM all the time, right? Or you're going to kill your battery off. If you have a 2200 kV motor, you're going to have a ton of torque, right? Tons of torque down low, but you're also going to be squeezing the throttle a lot more in order to get wheel speed out of it, thus killing the battery a lot more, right? So it's all about finding a balance. And in order to do that, you really need to come to terms with what do you want to do? Do you want realistic performance? As in, do you want to, if you watch a real vehicle, I've filmed plenty of them on my show, if you watch a real vehicle rock crawling, you can see how slow they go. Do you want to do that? Are you going to be in a general area and mainly crawling slow? Or are you going for trailing, exploration, heading out on trails and covering ground? If that's what you're going to be doing, then you need to be looking at something completely different, okay? And then you need to look at how you're building your vehicle. Do you want to lower your speed through basically the motor rating, or do you want to lower the speed through gear reduction, right? And there's no right or wrong way. It's just a matter of finding what works best for you and what you would what you prefer to do in your vehicle, or what you can do in your vehicle, right? So there's a lot of stuff, and this episode isn't to teach you which motor in ESC is the best. It's to explain to you guys that the best motor in ESC is the one you have for the application that you prefer to use it for. So you got to figure out the application first. Me personally, I've come to grips with the fact that I prefer a slower vehicle with a lot more torque, a lot more realistic speed. All right, if my vehicle can do a wheelie, then it should be a scale replica of something in real life that can do a wheelie. Okay, only vehicle I have here that can do a wheelie is my Mega Mud Truck, and that's how it should be. And that's just for me, right? And that's because I'm trying to replicate scale performance as well as the look. If you're not trying to replicate scale performance and you're okay with that, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're less of an RC guy or anything. Then you don't have to gear it down so low, or you don't have to go for as low of a KV, right? So that's something I want to get out there to everybody. When you're looking for your motor, you're looking for your ESC, you need to take into account what the application is going to be. For me personally, I prefer to run a high KV motor with a very low geared drivetrain and big battery, lots of voltage. You know, Holmes Hobbies motto: gear up or gear down, bolt up. Oh man, it looks like this guy is about done, and I'm losing my train of thought because I'm paying attention to him. So, you guys, I hope it's been good for you. I'm going to get off here, and if you want to learn more about this, I mean, this was really just to touch on the application, and it's not that big of a point to touch on, but to me it's huge because before you do anything else, you got to know application and what do you want for your experience and application for your build. And once you figure that out, then you can save a lot of money because you can build specifically for what you're after. So, and that is also why I have multiple vehicles, because I don't want one that does everything good. I want, you know, things that do one thing really well. So anyways, that being said, you guys, I hope this helps somebody out there. We're only going to do this rambling stuff a little bit before we get back to building and, you know, taking them out and having some fun with them. There's just some points I really want to touch on, and, you know, I'm not good at writing things down and going over it all specifically or reading off of a board in the background or whatever. I just come off, you know, the top with it. So hopefully this makes sense to some of you guys out there. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the next episode. Piece of chicken grease. Yeah. And say bye, twin. You tired? Say, I don't want this light in my eyes no more. Oh, buddy. Yeah, I know. I know.